Hi YouTube, welcome to the Fitness Food channel. In this video, I'll be showing you how to pan fry poultry and pork, white meats. There's two ways this can be done. You can fry them in larger or whole pieces, or you can slice them up into smaller strips. The whole pieces tend to stay juicier while you're eating them, but the small strips cook much quicker. I'll show you both. Now, although you can enjoy some red meats, either partially raw or partially cooked, such as steak or lamb, when it comes to white meat, it must be cooked all the way through, otherwise you could risk getting sick or getting food poisoning. So I have here 4 turkey breasts, 2 whole and 2 chopped up, lightly seasoned with black pepper, salt, onion powder, and garlic powder. Honestly, any combination of these spices will go well together. I tend to cook predominantly with dried herbs and spices unless I'm trying to do something super special for myself. They're just much easier to use and you don't have to worry about them going bad. So I've let my pan heat up, added half a tablespoon of olive oil, and when it started to smoke lightly, I added in my turkey, spread it out so as much of it is in contact with the pan as possible to allow it all to get a char flavor on it, or a sear, and we'll let that sit. When it gets to a point where it's nearly ready, you will see the sides of the turkey or the chicken or the pork are changing color and turning white. You want to get rid of all of that pink color, which indicates it has been cooked thoroughly all the way through. Another indicator of when one side of it is cooked is that it will come off of the pan with ease and it won't stick. You'll see we are getting some nice sear on there. So I will loosen it all up and make sure it's all turned over. So if you were making a stir fry at this point, when the meat is nearly cooked, you can start adding in your vegetables. I would recommend adding one in at a time so you don't crowd the pan too much. At this point, you'll want to switch out your dirty tongs or utensils for a fresh pair, as the meat will be nearing a point where it is completely cooked, and you don't want to risk cross-contamination from the old pair of tongs that was in contact with raw meat. It is getting to a point where it is nearly cooked. Now, the best way for you to figure out whether or not it has been safely cooked all the way through is to find the largest piece in the pan. You can take this piece out and cut it open to check for readiness. If all of the pink color is gone and it is white all the way through and solid and a little bit flaky, this indicates that since the largest piece is cooked, so should all of the smaller pieces be cooked as well. If you are cooking more at this point, just throw the pan right back on the heat and give it a few seconds to heat back up nicely. I am cooking here without any oil to show you how it can be done in a dry cooking technique. Mind you, it will take a little bit more work to clean the pan when you're done. Now you'll see the edges of the meat are starting to turn white, but we'll wait until that color starts to reach up past the halfway point and over onto the top a little bit before we flip it. When cooking and frying smaller pieces of meat, you can use a much higher heat without having to worry about cooking the outside too quickly while leaving the inside cold and raw. I forgot to lower the heat here, but with larger pieces of meat, you want to have that at about a medium temperature so they can cook thoroughly and steadily. So now that the color on the meat is starting to reach up to the point where it's approaching the top of the meat, I will check to see whether or not it's sticking, and it is not. Because my pan is too hot, I'm under the impression here that the meat is cooked enough to flip. However, it's not. So I'll flip it over. And like you can see, there's an excellent amount of sear on there. Now, because I'm not using oil right now, the rest of what was in the pan is starting to burn, so it will take a little bit of work to clean it off, but it will not affect the meat at all. The outside may have a little bit, well, it will have a slightly drier texture than if you had used a little bit of oil, but it will still taste delicious. I will touch the meat a little bit just to see how firm it is. A very firm texture indicates that it has cooked all the way through. So when I think it's at a point where it has, I will take a clean knife and cut into one piece just to ensure there is no pink color left on the inside. As you can see, whew, that's hot. It has fully cooked all the way through. It is nice and white and flaky as well. So that means it is done. So if you're cooking in batches, larger batches, or if you're doing some prep, I would recommend leaving these to cool for a little while before you put them in the fridge. As you can see, my pan is fairly blackened, so I'm going to throw some water in there just to help myself in cleaning it later. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching Fitness Food on how to pan sear white meats.